All right. What's up, everybody? Sorry, I have a little technical issues here. See if I can get them sorted super quick. Let's see how that goes. All right. Hopefully, you guys can see me. How's everyone doing today? Say hi in the chat box. Let me know they can hear me and see me okay. Good morning. Morning to you as well. Cool. Beautiful. So hit some likes, hit some hearts, and maybe set an intention for yourself about what you want to get from today's training. What's up, dude?
Hey.
Hey, buddy.
Let me actually.
Okay, cool. Elon is journeying with his family on the East Coast right now, so he's not in his usual spot. Oh, look, you can be at a day spa. You can be anywhere you want to be, bro. Oh shit. Taking the spa day. Cool. So, what's up, everybody? If you are new to our community, we'd love to say hi to you as well. What's going on, Sonella? Yeah.
In her new home.
Sonella's in her new home. That's awesome. Oh, you got us pinned. All right. Somebody from the team is on it today. Cool. So yeah, hey to Stacy and Ashley. What's up, Simona? Nice to see you guys here with us. New and old. So if you're new to the community, it's always behooves us to just share with you like how best to use the resources that you have available to you. Of course, you have the live stream here every Tuesday with myself and Elon. There are different members of the team that do live streams on Monday and Wednesdays, and usually these are like thought-provoking trainings, and can have some exercises in them that give you an idea of the type of work that we do here. If you're here, chances are you're a self-improvement enthusiast of some kind. Perhaps you're a business operator, expert, a coach, a consultant. And if you're here, our hope is that you are somebody who understands that transformation is not a fly-by-night type of experience. You're somebody who understands that to master anything in life is committed work. And what we want to talk to you about is the type of work that we do here, why it's extremely unique in the marketplace, why our approach is really different, and kind of how we got to these understandings, this wisdom. And for the last 12 years as a company, I'm very grateful to be on this incredible journey with my brother. Elon and I, believe it or not, have been working together since I think I was 24. So it's 16 years now that we've been working together in our company tomorrow, right?
22nd on Thursday.
I never get it right, which is funny that we, of course, picked on the 22nd. In 2 days, Satori Prime will be 12 years old. So we've been operating this company for 12 years old, and we've been operating as a pure coaching company now for about 6 or 7 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, so Elon and I used to teach in marketing and sales psychology. We used to teach people how to begin and start online businesses, and we did that for a long time and worked in these very large organizations. And we were top earners in those organizations for about 4 or 5 years, and we made millions of dollars for these companies. And the reason that we were able to do that is all these same fundamentals that we teach you here. Anything you approach in your life, whether it's relationships, your personal health, how you feel about yourself, how you approach business, everything comes down to how do you feel about yourself? What does your inner world sanctum feel like? If you feel like shit inside, we've all done that. You know that you usually generate pretty shitty results. You sabotage, you defend, you just like life experience is not great. And so what we want to understand is regardless of what your goals and aspirations are in life, whether it's to become a better business owner or just to become a better mother or father, which I think are extremely valuable aspirations for this world. We can use a lot more people who are consciously raising children, whether it's just to have an emotional sense of peace. Like there's no right or wrong reason why somebody would approach doing more awareness work in their life, right? And the reason anybody would work with a teacher, and I think we will get into this in a lot more detail. Certainly, I know why Elon and I work with teachers is because it's leverage, right? A coach is all about leverage. Working with somebody is all about leverage. Why do we all go to school? Because they chunk down, years of education, years of mastery into a few years. And our goal for you guys is, for those of you guys that do choose to come work with us, we want to take what has taken Elon and I 20 years and a small fortune of over $1 million in experiences, teachers, educations, methodologies, technologies, to chunk that down into a few months or a year and give you the type of experiences that we think are a requirement for living in an aligned, healthy way. Okay. So none of that is to impress you because Elon and I do this lovingly. It's never been work for us. From the moment we got into a room and started talking about psychology and personal development, we were both like head over heels, as like we had found our love. And I was a directionless child who never believed much in myself or in my abilities. I never thought of myself as smart or capable in any particular way. I grew up depressed and suicidal through my teen years. I was not, I was extremely bad to myself on the inside for a very, very long time. So I'm telling you from personal experience how different the experience of life can be. Like the amount of compassion and love that I have for myself today, and not from an egoic place, not from a place of overcompensation, not because I have to, but because I think the natural state of a human being is to love themselves. And so if you're not in a place of loving yourself or loving life, I would say it's obvious to me from where I look, that's just conditioning. And if something could be conditioned into you, it could certainly be conditioned out of you. And it's not that you need to change who you are, it's that you need to remove and release and let go of the conditioning that you had been given unconsciously and probably without without you saying that you wanted it, so that you can come back to your more organized and natural and like loving state, which is the natural state for a human being to be in. So we have incredible meditations for you guys if you haven't done them already. 28-day active healing meditation challenge. We call it a challenge, but we really want it to be a lifestyle for you, at the very least. And we put that together so that they had a design and a curriculum that you can follow, but you can do that in perpetuity. But here's the challenge part: is do it for 28 days and then stop. Do it for 28 days and then don't do it, and see how you feel. See that there's a palpable difference in the quality of how you're living your life. And then you'll know this is for me or this is not for me. Because if you don't feel any difference, what's the point of doing it? But I can tell you for a fact that I've never seen someone apply committed work like awareness practices or meditation and not get just incredible value from it. So, please just take that into consideration. Please use it. And you're going to see some huge, huge benefits from it. Just go look at all the comments and people in the news feed sharing about those meditations on a regular basis. Okay. So, we wanted to have a conversation with you guys today that's a little bit different, and it's going to be a little challenging perhaps for some of you guys, maybe irritate some of you guys, but it's like if you look at this more in a holistic sense, right? And how people approach life and trying to generate solutions for what's not working in their life, there's like kind of two ways that people go about it. It is taking Elon and I many years to generate this experience of what is our alignment? What do we truly want to do? Do we want to have this experience, right? And so for a lot of people, when they approach having new experiences, it is natural, I would think, I would offer, and Elon can chime in too on this, that when you're looking at something you've never done before, there's going to be a sense of hesitancy. When I do anything new in my life, I recently started taking like Muay Thai in my life. If you don't know, it's like a type of kickboxing, basically. I got in there and I'm a pretty physical guy. I know how to use my body well, but like I get in there and I feel like a total buffoon. Like I feel like a total idiot. I don't know how to throw a punch. Like no one's ever taught me how to properly throw a punch. No one taught me how to properly kick anything. And I have this young kid who's been doing it for like 7 years and makes it look so easy. And like my legs just can't do anything about what he's talking about. My shoulders are too tight. I'm not slouched down enough. I don't know how to throw a punch and a jab. And as I face that, I can feel all this conditioning like from my past come up in my system. Oh, you're never going to be good at this. This is taking too long. Oh my God, look how he's doing it. And like all this stuff. And in the past, that would have really withdrawn me from an experience like that. And what I found myself as I've had this experience recently is that like I could just have fun with my buffoonery. There's like
Yeah.
compassion. There's like compassion for my buffoonery, and that's new for me. That's new for me to not be in that state of unknown and beat myself up while I'm learning something new. Okay. And so look, when we're learning about our psyche, when we're learning about our ourselves and human development, the natural thing is to contrast what you're learning with how it is that you're living, right? And if the way that you're living right now doesn't work for you, like your relationships aren't working, there's a lot of tension there. If you find it a struggle financially in your business life, in your career, just in general, it's like that's like tough. You find it that you're discompassionate with yourself, that stress and anxiety is a way of life for you, and that's a regular occurrence. We're here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. And we're not just telling you from our personal experience, we're telling you because we've taken thousands of people through transformative experiences. And with the commitment and time that people put in to recondition themselves or uncondition themselves, people get out of those trappings every single day. Every single day, a new life can arise for them. They start having awe-striking, jaw-dropping type of experiences for no other reason than they're just not doing the same conditioning over and over again. Now, if we were to define conditioning, I would say it's simply the way that your psyche defends itself from that which it doesn't feel safe inside of. Okay. And that's not to say that whatever is happening is not safe. It's to say that your psyche has this like narrow band of things that it's willing to accept or not accept because it knows how to protect you within that narrow band. Right. So, what we call personality, what we call ego and identity, these are all just defensive patterns. Okay. They're just like the ways that we defend ourselves, basically. And so we want to invite you to a space where you have an undefended heart, where you have an undefended mind. Because if you really want to experience yourself in your true nature is not defended. A child doesn't come out defended. Defended is something a child has to learn. And it is part of our intelligence as we grow up, because when there is overwhelm and anxiety in our system, something has to step forward to defend that child. Okay. And whatever it is that worked for you as a little boy or a little girl that you did during those more, you know, sensationally intense moments of your life is generally speaking what you carry forward into your adult life. And this is why when we want something new, those parts still come forward and they just keep you where you're at and they sabotage anything new because that's the narrow band with which those parts operate. And so, again, if we want to open the aperture, we want to experience more possibility, we want to experience more magic in our lives, then we have to let go of that conditioning. And for our mind, that is a type of death. It's a part of egoic death. And so, why am I saying all this? Well, I'll make this distinction and then I'll hand it over to Elon because I've chatted quite a bit here. But we want to kind of make a distinction for you guys, and you have to check yourself about this. Okay. It's not, Elon and I are not making you wrong. We just want to offer this because you can either sit on your laurels for many years and listen to Elon and I talk, and I'm sure you'll enjoy these conversations and you'll get value. But in order to do something different, in order to get different results in life, the reality is we need to take action. Even meditation, which is an act of no action, is action. No action is action, right? We got to do something. We got to commit to something. We got to help ourselves be helped. Now, it's much easier to do this with a third party who's mastered a certain view of life and can mirror back to you what's working and not working in different ways than you have to yourself, without a doubt. That's why, 20 years on, Elon and I have a litany. I mean, like today more than ever, we have more people around us today than we did when we got going, and that support and help our systems navigate life, because life is still happening, it's unfolding, right? Like there are stresses in life, there's tensions in life, there's things that overwhelm the system. Like we want to be able to have people around us that can see us and support us in getting back into as an aligned state as possible. So we want to make this distinction for you guys. And you got to check yourself between somebody who's seeking for information, thinking that that's going to make all the difference in the world, versus somebody who's looking for a solution. Okay. And you could probably guess where this whole conversation is going, but I'll let kind of Elon pick it up from there. And just, we want to look at, and not just through the lens of transformation, but every area of your life that you want to make improvements in, or you want to see that you're going in the direction that manifests the desires that you have? Are you somebody who's just sitting here collecting information, or are you somebody who's actively looking for a solution? And then we want to look at what does that look like, and what kind of commitments do we get to make in order to provide access to new experiences? Go ahead, bro.
So just I'm curious for those that are here and listening, can you find yourself in that map, right? Like, are you someone who has historically been an information seeker or a solution seeker? And I'll just kind of like give you my 2 cents around it as you're kind of like mulling this over. The biggest distinction I see between information seeker and solution seeker is information seeking comes from this incessant part that always feels like you don't have enough know-how, you don't have enough information, you don't have enough understanding, and you end up on a endless search, jumping from one teacher to the next teacher, from one book to the next book, from one video to the next video. And it's like you'll get something, and the part will be like, okay, yeah, but that's not enough. That didn't work. And then you're on to the next thing. And we learn this. It's funny, as you were just talking about, like the 12 years that we've been online, right? Like, we knew this. What do we call it back in the day? It's like the shiny object syndrome, right?
Mhm.
Like in the online marketing space, it was like, no, 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 this is the best thing. And then the next course was like, no, 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 this is the best thing. And what Guy and I realized is, people, when they were doing this, every time you start something, you're literally starting yourself back at zero. So instead of actually like mastering something and having that process happen, you would just get to the state and you're like, yeah, you know what, that doesn't work for me. And then you go out and you start and you look for the next thing. And yeah, and I like that Christine says that she has both, because I do believe that there's certain aspects in our lives that we are an info seeker, and there's certain aspects in our lives that we're a solution seeker. Now, what's interesting is, I think for most people, they become solution seekers only from turmoil, crisis, trauma, something that happens that you have to find a solution, and you have to find one quickly. And that like completely shifts the mindset. And so I'll give you an example, right? Like, we all know what it takes to live a healthy lifestyle, right? If you put good quality food in your mouth, you move every day, you take care of yourself, like, you're going to be healthy. But somehow, I don't even know if it's in the billions or trillions, but there's at least billions in a $1 billion industry every single year selling you the next fad and the next diet and the next this and the next supplement and then right, whatever that might be. Because at the end of the day, people know that you're not truly looking for a solution. You're just looking for more information. Like, I'll try this. Right now, you go to a doctor and they give you a bad diagnosis, whatever that means, and they say, listen, if you want to beat this thing, you need to now eat only these kind of foods and eliminate all these other things. Now, you're what? You're a solution seeker. There's no more time to gather this information or bounce from this thing to the next thing or that thing to that thing and waste time, right? Like, what you need is a now solution. And so Guy and I, for years, as we were helping ourselves build this business, we realized that, and we were talking about this just the other day, like, we're not interested in more information, because I know what more information does. More information makes my ego feel good, makes me feel smart, makes me have like cool things to say at a certain room full of people, right? Like, oh, I read this book and I did that, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, do those things move the needle in my life? And we learned early on that it does not. Stroking the ego with more information does very little to actually move your life. How many of you guys, as I'm sharing this, can start to kind of see like there are areas in your life where you do this? There's this part that convinces you that no, 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 you're just missing this piece of information. Like you just need to figure it out. And it keeps you at a standstill. So Guy and I, like, when we are trying to build something in our business, when we're looking to do something with our health, when we're looking to do something as a parent, in our relationship, whatever it is, like Guy and I don't give a shit about finding more information. Our method is very simple. I know for whatever it is that I want in my life, I know that there's someone out there right now that has done it. What I look for is who's done it and who can teach it to me so that I don't have to waste all my time going to read all those books and watch all those videos and try to piece this whole thing out. Like, what I want is I want the solution to that now. I don't want to spend the next 5, 10 years trying to figure it out. And I do believe that becoming a solution seeker shifts something for you, where you start to deeply listen to what is inside. You wait for the answer, and then you, like a missile, you seek out that person that can help guide you. And whether it's been my health, whether it's been in sports, whether it's been our finances, whether it's been our career, whether it's been coaching, Guy and I seek solution from those that have already been on that path and can look back at me and give me what they've learned through their experience. Yeah. And so someone, let me just see. Sorry. So Stacy says, I've been looking for the solutions to change my life, but I've had to get the information to do this. So it's a really, really interesting distinction that, what did I say, Stacy? Yeah, that Stacy is pointing to. So people who seek information tend to also have this notion that, like, all the information's out there, it's all free, it's all, accessible and blah, blah, blah. And to an extent, it's absolutely right. If you have no timeline, you have no end game, you're like, hey, listen, I'll spend the next 50, 60 years trying to figure this out, then yes, this part the information junkie in all of us will take you on a beautiful ride of exploration and learning and all that kind of stuff. I, for one, don't know how much time we got on this planet. I hope that it's very long, and I hope that I get to do this for a very, very, very long time. I just don't know that to be true, right? And so for me, what's most important is I want to get to where I'm heading as quickly as humanly possible. And in order to do that, something needs to shift. And you get to choose, like, is it more information that's going to move the needle? And I would just say for you, like, take a look at your own life right now. Where are the areas that you're stagnant in, or you haven't had like massive shifts in recently? And I would offer that you're probably stuck in this loop of acquiring more information. And you'll know this because there's this part in our brain that never feels like it's enough. How many of you guys can feel that part inside where it's like you get something and it's like, okay, what's next? It never feels settled. It never feels like it's learned enough or understood enough or collected enough. And what it does is all of that keeps you stagnant and sitting here waiting for this day that I'm telling you will never come, in which you'll be like, all right, I've collected all the information and here we go. I had an opportunity yesterday to speak to Christine, and we had a beautiful, beautiful conversation. It was really, really lovely, and we were talking about this haze that people fall into, right? Like whenever we want something new in our lives, there's this fog of like lack of clarity, a haze that I call it. And there's something inside that's pulling you to move towards that haze. And for most people, that haze is very scary. Like the walking into the unknown is very, very scary. And so, what we do to calm our nerves, to calm that part that is fearful of taking that step into the unknown, is this part comes in, and in order to bypass or like temper down that lack of safety, it goes into this mode of get me more information, convincing you that if you understood enough, you would somehow gain more clarity. And what I was sharing with Christine was that, people create these massive plans, like 50 steps, 100 steps, whatever it is to their goal. And then they finally take a step in that direction. And wouldn't you know it, after step 2 or 3, something that they couldn't have possibly predicted happens. And the next 50 steps are irrelevant because the entire game has changed. The only way to move forward is by taking a step forward. Trusting that the next step is somehow going to show itself to you, but you don't need to figure that out right now. Seeking more information keeps you at a standstill. Seeking solutions has you moving forward, step by step by step. And the path begins to become clearer once you become someone who's a solution seeker, a solution finder. And you realize that to me, it's like every part, every next iteration, every next step, there's something new, some subtle, nuanced thing that I can only experience, not through understanding, not through reading, but through having the experience of it. My daughter's gotten really into like baking and cooking and things like that, right? And look, you can look at cookbooks all day long. You could look at recipes online all day long. There's a big difference between looking at all that stuff and learning and watching videos and all that stuff and actually getting in the kitchen and putting it together. And you know what I've realized watching a 8, 9, 10-year-old cook in the kitchen? There's a lot of shit that gets thrown out. With the best of intentions of like following things to a T and all that stuff, like there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown out. And that's the way you learn. By getting dirty, by getting messy, by finding a solution to as you move forward, because you don't even know the solutions that you're going to need until you get on the court and begin to play the game. And so I think in this community, if we named a game that we're playing, right? Like we're playing a game of liberation, of remembering who we are. Highest level, soul level, who are you? Now, in order to find that, there's a lot of stuff that we have put together to block ourselves from knowing who we actually are, because who we actually are didn't really feel that safe. The essence of who you are was not enough. Your gifts were either scary or, put people in uncomfortable situations, so they had to temper you. And all of that stuff programmed you into how you are today. Now, underneath all of that, there's something that's pulling forth at you. Your soul is speaking to you. And as you get older, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong here, but as you get older, that voice gets louder. It's the one that keeps you up at night. It's the one that wakes you up in the middle of the night. It's the one that's telling you that, the life that you're living might not be the one that you're supposed to be living right now. And with that comes doubt and fear, because a part of your identity feels like it's going to die if you actually follow through and start making moves in that direction. And I get that. But let me ask you this. If you knew you had a year or 2 or 3 left to live, and I don't mean to make this like grim by any stretch of the imagination, but like if you knew your time was limited, and none of us actually know how much time we got, right? would you right now be fulfilled with what you've done in your life? Have you served in the way that you wanted to serve? Have you been the parent that you wanted to be? Have you been the husband or wife that you wanted to be? Have you been the brother or sister or son or daughter that you wanted to be? Did you leave it all out here? Or were you standing on a bleachers, reading a bunch of books and watching a bunch of videos, practicing for when real life happens? This is real life. And it is ticking every second. And this process that the mind convinces you of, that like it's scary out there, or oh my God, what will happen if? That's natural. That's supposed to be there. You're never going to learn enough or inform yourself enough to have that part of you be quiet. It's impossible. Maybe being alive and taking these giant leaps into the unknown, maybe that's the part. Maybe it's in that process that we get to learn the most about ourselves. And there's two ways that I see people go about this. One is you go about it on your own. And I can tell you with certainty that if you go about this on your own, you are going to have a very, very unnecessarily bumpy ride. Like, very. Following your purpose and following your soul's purpose does not have to be on your own. I said this to these two beautiful women that I just got to share space with right before I got on this call. Like, I really hope that whatever brought you to Satori Prime, that you realize that this community is a home and that you no longer have to do this stuff on your own. And whatever experiences and whatever traumas and whatever life has dealt you, I'm telling you, in this community, you are not alone. We've all had it. We've all had these experiences, maybe slightly different. And something brought you here into this space. And maybe you don't even know what that is yet. And if you're curious, like truly curious, to explore what that is, maybe you already know what your soul's purpose is. I know, like, Christine and I were talking about this yesterday, and she's very clear. And it was amazing. It was amazing to witness. And then there's some people that are like, they're just not clear, right? But something brought you here. And if you want to explore and get clear on that, and in addition to that, get a plan, like a map of, hey, step 1, step 2, step 3, that feels good for you to follow, we have that available. If you type in right now in the comment box, like type in, I want clarity, or I'm in, or whatever it might be, and our team will reach out to you. We have Mel, Tobias, Corey, who are just standing by. Like, they are incredible coaches who will take time and ask you questions and get very specific about your life's path right now. And if you're not an information seeker, look, if you're an information seeker, I'm going to be very, very blunt with you. Go elsewhere. Just go elsewhere. Go read your books and watch your videos and do all that stuff. Like, sit on the sidelines. Do that. This community, this container is not for that. This container is for those who are solution seekers, those who are ready to take their life on, those who are ready to invest their time, their energy, their money in actually moving the needle. And if that's not you, by the way, I'm totally good with that. Like, I get that not everyone is of that place, but I'm telling you right now, like, the game we play here is a game of remembering and bringing this light out into the world. And that takes action. That takes commitment. That takes courage. That takes vulnerability. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. There's plenty of other communities that will feed your information junkie till it's gluttonous. We're not that community. We're really here to move the needle of humanity. And if that is your purpose and that is your journey, even if you're not quite crystal clear on what that looks like, but there's that burning fire desire inside of you to make that a reality, just type in, I'm in, and let our team guide you and support you and introduce you to the different facets that you can implement right now in your life to make that a reality.
We need like a bell, like when it's the other person's turn. Ding
Oh,
ding.
bing, bing.
Pull the trick. Pull the cord. Yeah, I mean, I agree. So let's look at like some things. I remember when we didn't have resources, Neelan and I had to become resourceful, right? And there's still things in our life right now that when we want to do that, and it feels like, oh, that's a stretch for us, but we become resourceful. And so something we learned many years ago is we don't ask ourselves if we can afford something. We ask ourselves whether or not we want to do that thing. That's the first question Elon and I always ask. It's like, okay, do we want to do this thing? If the answer is yes, then we will take a look at how to become resourceful to do that thing. A few years back, maybe it was 2016, 2017, we hired a coach and we were paying her $13,500 a month. Okay. So it's like no small chunk of change. And I mean, that was terrifying. Like that was the reality. That was a terrifying, let me just move that so it's not distracting us. That was a terrifying experience for the two of us. But I'm telling you right now, I remember getting off the phone and I remember my heart's beating through my chest because I knew I wanted to work with this person. She exuded and lived her life in a particular way that I had not seen before. It was clear that she had a capacity to manifest in her life, but that was the reality. I mean, she had people paying her $1 million a year to work with her, right? So we were extremely uh, desiring, and we had a conversation. And I remember getting off the phone with Elon and saying, "Holy shit, that's a lot of fucking like, that's a lot." And then the next question was, "Well, do we want to do this thing? Like, is this a gift we want to give ourselves, right? Because at the end of the day, oftentimes we think of like the money that we're exchanging with somebody and going, "Oh my god, like that's what the service costs." But at the end of the day, you have to look at things as like, I'm investing in me. That's what that's for, right? And so we get it, man. Like things, Elon and I grew up in an immigrant family, $1,600 a month, bi-level house where we shared literally a house. Somebody lived on the second floor, we lived on the first floor. Like, strange and difficult beginnings in this life. Our parents are immigrants from the USSR who migrated to Israel, who then migrated to the States. They're now on their fourth migration. Now they call it the fourth migration is called Florida. But the reality is, I watched my parents even restart their life in Florida and get into some pretty challenging times as well. And so, like, my parents have been this incredible example of like fortitude and an ability to like reinvent themselves at different aspects of their life. And I mean, it's been amazing to watch. It's been difficult to watch at times, and that's those are the underpinnings of the conditioning that Elon and I came from. And we didn't come for money. We didn't come from having people who set examples of what it was like to be massively successful. All we saw was two people who worked their asses off all the time. And so certainly Elon and I, in that regard, like have the work ethic. But I can tell you, as two people who work very hard, like and have worked very hard and put a lot of effort into it, the one thing I found is that's just one way to go about things. It's just one way. Most of you guys know really, 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 people who work extremely hard in their lives. They don't get very far ahead. And so most people that I know are willing to work hard. It's not a lack of working hard, but what they work hard from is the energy of their old conditioning. So what's making them work hard is this old patterns. And from that place, I could tell you from having done that with some success, it was like extraordinarily limiting in our capacity, potential, possibility, what you can attract to yourself, because like we today we know that everything in the universe is consciousness and vibration. That's all it is. So what you're magnetizing to yourself, what life is mirroring back to you is replicating or mirroring the energy in your body. If the reason you're working so hard is stress, anxiety, fear, overwhelm, the actions you're taking are creating more stress, anxiety, fear, and overwhelm in your life. I guarantee you, right? When you've worked with as many people as Elon and I have worked with, you go from, oh, that's a coincidence, to there are no coincidences. You start seeing this pattern in humanity because Elon and I have had this very large data set of people that we get to speak to. Like, look, when things are challenging, you have like a week, you have these 2 3 days that are like really really challenging. Suddenly we'll go out to our community and we'll ask 100 people, hey, what's been going on this week? And everyone will report some version of that. Because what we forget is that even though we are these unique individuals, we're also the drop in the ocean, and we're also the ocean. There is a frequency to things. There's an evolution to things. Evolution is not stopping with humanity. It's going to keep on going. The people who are interested in this work are interested in having a direct experience with participating with that evolution. They're done with trying to freeze time. They're done with trying to have this nostalgia and get back to a time that seemed like everything was right. Like, there's no such thing. There's just this unfolding of reality and of our experience, right? The people who navigate that in a fluid way, the people who navigate that with compassion towards themselves and others, the changing of things, the people who can do that more effortless, right? They have the bend, not break type of mentality, like a bamboo, right? Like bamboo is very strong because it bends, it doesn't break. Like, being able to cultivate this within yourself is the key to having a life that unlocks everything, is a key to opening up potential and possibility in your life. And truth be told, it's like, look, you can continue to operate from the conditioning that you've always lived in. That's why Elon is so voracious in his like thing, because truth be told is we want to support, we want to guide you, we want to help you. We know that we have everything that you need right here in this community to support you in completely transforming your life. And no one can help you unless you want to be helped. You got to take some action in your life. And you can keep reading the books and keep informing your brain, but our we did that for 15 years. And while there's something to be gained from that, certainly more than not, right? Like, if you're not reading any books, you're not doing anything, I would prefer you read the books and do that than nothing at all. But the reality is, you got to ask yourself this question: do I just want to get better at managing myself? Do I just want to get better at coping with life? Is that really all I'm interested in? Somebody wrote success isn't measured financially. It's not. Absolutely not. No more than health is measured by weight, right? So there's lots of different measures for what success means. To me and Elon, it's having a holistic approach to life. Sometimes there's money, sometimes there's not. But the things that most human beings, I believe, really value is connection with family, right? Is having a loving experience with themselves and others. And I would say most people are not great at that, by the way. They're extremely inwardly critical, right? And then because of that, they're extremely outwardly critical. If you don't think you're a critical person, you tell me what happens when someone cuts you off on the road. Is that hand signal you're throwing out the window? Does that have a lot of compassion on it, right? And so, like, these are the things. There's a way to live life in a qualitative way that most people have yet to taste, because they're living in a container in a world and conditioning that was given to them that seems like the only way to get what they want in this world is to compete with others. And in my experience, that doesn't work at all. It's really all about cooperation. And if you really understand human development, you'll know that biologically human beings thrive. We need, it's not a recommendation. It is an absolute need to have connection in this world. And so the people who you see that are least healthy in this world doing what they're doing are oftentimes the least connected to other people and to social environments. And Elon and I, look, again, we've had the teachers, we've done the courses, we've tried to do this work on our own. But like every other human being on planet Earth, we have our head up our own ass. Our ego is a incredible chess player. and it knows exactly what buttons to push inside to make you do the thing that yesterday you promised yourself you would never do again. It's why people smoke. It's why people overeat. It's why people drink too much. It's why people are careless with themselves. We wriggle out of the commitments we make internally to ourselves because the condition is designed that way. So to step outside of that, not only do you need new ways to think, but you need new actions and you need practices that you do on a regular basis that recondition and uncondition you from having to do those things and feel that necessity and pull towards that old conditioning or the reactivity of that old conditioning. And that's what this work is all about. Okay. So, look, I'll just kind of, I think, begin to wrap things up here with this is that there are two ways to approach your work. Okay. We call these the two paths. There's the growing up work and there's the waking up work. Okay. There's a lot of growing up work in the world. And this meaning this is again the mindset space, the managing, the coping, the responsibility, the integrity, the communication, the repair work. Again, all that stuff is amazing. We still teach it. If you come and do our level 1 work, that's what we focus on. Why do we focus on that? Because we realize if you do healing work with people and you actually teach them how to metabolize energy, how to go into higher states of consciousness, it's amazing. But if you haven't gotten foundationally understanding of what your mind is doing and why it's doing it and how it's doing it and what's the purpose behind that, the tendency is to recreate the trauma from your past even when it's out of the system already. You'll just go back into the mind will create it again and it'll put you back into these patterns. And so we recognize, again, after doing this with so many people, we're like, hey, there's got to be a process here. People have to have that foundation first. Then we'll bring them into this higher state of consciousness and awareness practices, and we'll really show them how deep this rabbit hole can go. We'll show them how to pull themselves out of the conditioning, out of the matrix, out of all those different, terminologies that people use. And so what you really want to understand that if we want to get into the underpinnings, not just what you can see, but what you can't, that all lives in the felt sense. Okay, like the unconscious, the subconscious that everyone wants to quote, reprogram or recondition or whatever it is, that actually lives inside the landscape of the entire body. Okay, yeah, I know Elon's got to go, guys, so I'll wrap up and then give you guys one more invitation before I leave here. Okay, so that all lives in the underpinnings of the body. The mind is just reacting to what is in the system. Okay, so the mind is like this terminal that is interpreting the language of the body, and it's doing it pretty poorly because it's doing it through the conditioning that you received by your caregivers, by your environment, religions, cultures, countries, right? Like all that kind of stuff. And so it has a particular view. And that's often why people are stuck. So we want to help you gain a very high level of awareness of what's happening up here, but then we want to help you dive into the body, because what science, what therapy, what psychology calls trauma is really just stuck energy inside the body. You could actually feel these collapses that happen inside of our system. And again, our more advanced students, this is what we work on a regular basis, is this subtle awareness about the sensations that are occurring inside the body that occur like these collapses or this like discomfort. And you can literally feel as your mind turns away from the discomfort. It doesn't want to deal with that. It wants to go back into its conditioning. It's the lane that it knows. But this is why people get stuck for so long, and this is why they're relegated to the conditioning of their past. Again, is because they haven't built a practice where they can turn and look at it. And the reality is if you want to transform your life, you want things to shift, you are not going to get around these parts. They will not give up. They have extraordinary patience. The only way to liberate oneself is to go through those experiences again. And if you go through them through your conditioning, you tend to loop and create more of it. Again, this is why therapy for a lot of people often does not work very well, because they have you look at what's happening inside from the very conditioning of the mind. We actually need to develop a higher state of consciousness. We need to go into altered states and view it from there to elicit what our body naturally does, which is it wants to metabolize energy. And so if your body's not metabolizing this energy, that means that you are viewing from your conditioning. And I promise you, it's actually pretty simple to begin training to someone to come out of that conditioning. Again, those of you guys who have done this training, you can sound off in the chat box and let people know, like, absolutely, that's possible. And so as you begin to do that, you begin to unravel the conditioning. And so if you want your mind to be quiet, if you want your mind to be placid, if you want your mind to be focused, if you want your mind to be performance based, if you want to be able to easily connect compassionately to yourself and others, It's not about convincing the mind to operate differently. It's about actually metabolizing or removing the stimulus that your mind is responding to. And this is how we quiet our mind down. We don't work on quieting the mind. The mind just becomes quiet because we do these practices. And this is why for so many people, meditation, awareness, energetic practices, they're misunderstanding the application of it because they're looking through the lens of how do I get as much performance of this as possible? How do I heal myself? And it's like you just have to let it happen. It's not about having more, it's about learning how to get out of the way so that our body does what it's naturally designed to, which is heal and go back to a neutral state. And again, this might not mean anything to you right now, but if you've been really frustrated with what's going on in your life, you're really frustrated, there's a design to how this stuff works. So I'm going to tell you right now, whether you are somebody who is financially strapped and really struggling in your life right now, or you're somebody who knows you absolutely want to invest, we've taken an extraordinary amount of time to think about how we can serve people at every level. But if you don't raise your hand and say, "Hey, look, I want support. Here's what I'm going through. Here's where I want to be. Here's the what I can commit to with my time. Here's what I can commit to with my finances." It's fine wherever you are. We are now at a point where we can literally serve somebody who basically has, $100 to put into their development, or somebody who has $100,000 to put into their development. Clearly those experiences are going to be vastly different, but we really wanted to be able to look at everybody in this community who's reached out to us and said, "Hey, how can I get support? What do you guys have for me?" And we've now developed an entire, curriculum for people who don't have a lot, and curriculums for people who know that they want to master this stuff and they want to literally live their lives from this place and gain from, hopefully, from the wisdom and experiences that have taken Elon and I 20 years, perhaps even multiple lifetimes, to get to a level of mastery where we can guide you into some of these incredible experiences with your mind, incredible experiences with your body, and really, most importantly, with your consciousness and your energetic configuration in your body. And the moment you shift that, you'll see that everything in your life changes. Your reality changes, your relationships change, the way you approach your healing changes, the way you just approach with yourself. You know, uh, I wish people put more emphasis on learning how to cultivate compassion, safety, and well-being within themselves. Okay. And for a lot of people, you've never even thought about that. Why would I cultivate more safety in myself? Why would I cultivate more well-being in myself? You think you're going to acquire it by changing your life or by buying something in your life. It doesn't work that way. It just never works that way. Safety, well-being, connection, being able to operate from a high quality of energy. This is not something you acquire. It's something you cultivate. And so again, for those of you guys who are just stuck in the info seeking, hopefully this is a little bit of a push. Become a solution seeker. Whether it's with us or somebody else, you should do what feels good for you. It would be stupid to do something that you don't want to do. But it would be equally as stupid that when you find something that feels in alignment for you, that you don't find a way to do that. And if it's a matter of resource for you, then become resourceful. Most of us are way too scared to ask for support when we need it. Figure out how to ask for that support. Figure out how to put a plan together to put yourself in a situation where you're going to put yourself into an experience that could radically make a difference. And I want to remind you that programs like these, this is not like buying a pair of jeans, that you're going to have for a year or two and then they get faded and rip up and then you throw them away. Whatever you invest here, this is something you take with you for the rest of your life. It's not just going to impact you, it's going to impact everybody around you. It is a forever investment, and in that way, it's 1,000 times, fold what the investment you're going to make in it. Most people who do our level one work and they felt like it was a stretch for them or whatever it is, and they do that program, things in their life start rapidly changing. They said, "Shit, had I known that this was this impactful and this powerful, I would have paid 10 times as much for it." That's how it is. The challenge with this work is we can't show you what's on the other side of the wall until you start doing this work, because we don't really know how this is going to unfold for you. Having said that, though, we've taken thousands of people through this work, and we can tell you that we do know kind of how it goes. Like, I don't want to say how it ends because nobody knows how anything ends, but we know how it goes for people, right? And so, whatever you got, whatever challenges you're facing, whatever feel like you need support with, the number one thing that can transform that is shifting your experience of how you perceive reality, how you perceive yourself, and the confidence that you bring forward when you know yourself so well, when you have this incredible ability to understand that, hey, no matter what's happening within me, I'm going to face it. I have the tools to face it. I have the community that's going to help me face it. I'm going to work through that thing. I'm no longer going to avoid these things in my life. And every single time you do that, you open yourself up and you liberate yourself a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, a little bit more. And one day you wake up and you just feel like a completely different person. It's like as if you've woken from a dream. And that doesn't happen on its own. That only happens through people who are deeply committed to doing this kind of work. So again, before I close out today, if you want support with the type of work that we're doing here, even if it's just to investigate with our team what the programs look like, they want to know, what are your desires? What have you done? Where would you like to be? And we will create a custom game plan that makes sense with the type of financial and time commitments that you can make in your life right now. And we'll tell you, here's what fits into that. Here's the type of work you can be doing, and here's how we could support you. Okay. So again, just comment "I'm in," even if you're watching this on replay. We do scour these comment boxes, and then Tobias, Ella, Mel, missing somebody here, Corey, can reach out to you, and they can set up a time to have a call with you. It's a 15-minute one-on-one VIP custom game plan call, and they can tell you, here's what we can do. Here's what we can provide for you based on where you're at right now. Here's how we can support you. Does that feel good? And if it does, you have a case for action, and you can feel into if you want to move forward. If not a big deal. At the end of the day, just have a conversation, see what's there for you. All right, guys, thank you for being here. Love you very much. We're looking forward to hanging with a lot of you solution seekers, and we'll see you back here next week.